The contemporary argument over women in pastoral roles is frequently misunderstood as a matter of interpretation alone. This analysis will demonstrate that it is, in fact, a symptom of a much deeper philosophical conflict, one that concerns the very nature of reality itself. Our central inquiry, therefore, moves beyond exegesis. It addresses the nature of being. The disagreement stems from two irreconcilable conceptions of the world, one in which order is inherent and must be discovered, and another in which order is a product of human thought and social agreement. Here are the two competing worldviews. The first, a received order, operates on the premise that reality has an intelligible, given structure. Within this framework, meaning is something to be discovered. The second, constructed meaning, posits that reality is fundamentally unformed, and that meaning is something created by human will and consensus. The foundational claim is this: the historical position on pastoral authority was not arbitrary. It was the necessary expression of a specific ontology, a shared understanding of being that persisted for millennia. To comprehend the position, we must first grasp its metaphysical groundwork. The technical term for this framework is an ontological-relational order. This refers to a reality that possesses an intrinsic, meaningful structure. Roles within this order are not merely functional assignments. They are expressions of this deeper reality, disclosed through revelation and lived out within a covenantal context. Let us now trace the historical evidence for this shared understanding. We will begin where the source material argues it was first established, within the Hebrew worldview and its institutional expressions. The Hebrew framework illustrates a critical distinction. We see structured representational offices, the priesthood and eldership, which were consistently held by men. By contrast, the charismatic gift of prophecy was distributed to both men and women, with figures like Deborah and Huldah serving as clear examples. This reveals a sharp line between an ongoing, formal covenantal representation and direct, spontaneous divine revelation. This timeline demonstrates the remarkable duration of the historical consensus. For over 1,500 years, across radically different cultures and theological epochs, this foundational structure of authority remains stable. The source argues this stability points not to cultural inertia, but to a deeply held, shared underlying conviction. The conclusion drawn from this historical period is unequivocal. The consensus did not arise from an invention of structure. It reflected a shared conviction that they were receiving and aligning with a reality that was already given. The fundamental change, according to this analysis, did not begin in theology. It began in philosophy. The early modern era introduced a profound reorientation of Western thought that shifted the very grounds of knowledge, authority, and the self. This intellectual cascade systematically relocated the foundations of Western thought. It began with Descartes, who moved the seat of certainty from external reality to the internal, thinking mind. John Locke then built upon this by redefining authority as a social contract based on individual consent. Finally, Rousseau framed inherited structures not as formative guides, but as artificial constraints on an individual's natural liberty. The direct consequence of this philosophical shift was a complete redefinition of what a role is. A role was no longer understood as a meaningful expression of one's being within an ordered reality. It became instead a functional task to be assigned based on competence, efficiency, and individual agreement. This philosophical revolution leads directly to our modern divergence. We will now compare the two opposing frameworks and examine their profound implications for roles, identity, and authority. The contrast is stark. In the traditional view, distinctions are understood as part of a meaningful whole. In the modern view, the default assumption is interchangeability. Any distinction must therefore be rigorously justified and is often viewed with suspicion as a potential source of inequality. The entire burden of proof has shifted. The abandonment of a received framework in favor of a constructed one produces inevitable consequences. Symbolic meaning becomes dislocated from roles. Institutions, subject to constant revision based on preference, become unstable. And identity itself, ungrounded from a given nature, becomes fluid and self-determined. This analysis does not conclude with a simple answer, but with the fundamental challenge presented by the source material. The specific debate over leadership roles is merely a surface-level expression of a much deeper question concerning the nature of reality itself. Is truth a given order to be received, or is it a product that we manufacture?